to Matthew. After he had fed the people, Jesus made the disciples get into a boat and precede him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. After doing so, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When it was evening, he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat, already a few miles offshore, was being tossed about by the waves, for the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, he came toward them walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It is a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. At once Jesus spoke to them, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter said to him in reply, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." Peter got out of the boat and began to walk on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw how strong the wind was, he became frightened. And beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus stretched out his hand and caught Peter and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" After they got into the boat, the wind died down. Those who were in the boat did him homage, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Can you see okay? Are these lights on a raised stand or anything? No? Maybe it's just because it's so light outside that it looks kind of, and because I'm sitting in all that light, it should look like it's really dark out here. So you can see okay, can't you?
Yes.
Where do I have to be so that they can catch us?
You're fine. Wherever you want to go.
How about back here?
Well, maybe not.
Okay. There are two comments about a cell phone that I'd like to mention, not about your cell phone, so relax. There are two comments I would like to make about the cell phone. One of them is just sort of a public service announcement, and the other is one that helps me to reflect on the gospel, and I'm hoping that it will help you to reflect on that gospel, how that gospel hits for you as well. First, Friday morning, I was having my cup of coffee, a nice big mug of coffee with half and half. Big mug of coffee. And in my left hand was my cell phone. I was checking my emails and my text messages, and somehow that thing got out of his hand and plopped right smack dab into the coffee cup. Funny, isn't it? I saw $600 dumped in my coffee. So I pulled the thing out, and as I took the case off, and I dried it out real fast, and I remembered that I had in the garage one of those little canisters of compressed air. And so I got the thing, and I was blowing that all over the place. Anything that looked like coffee could have come in there, I did that. And then I grabbed a bag of rice, and put that baby in a bag of rice, zipped it tight, and promised myself I would not look at it for 24 hours. It's a long 24 hours to do that if you like those things. But 24 hours later, on the money, on the dot, 24 hours later, I opened it up. Well, but I forgot to say that before I put it in the bag, I did a check of the phone to see how it was working. Everything was working fine except the hearing, the earpiece that's embedded in the phone there. The speaker phone was working just fine. And if you put a an earbud or a headset in there, they were working just fine, but the earpiece itself was not working. So anyway, I wrapped it all up, put it with the rice, and then went online to say, okay, what do I do if that doesn't work? Well, you can find fixes to all kinds of things online. So somebody had written about the fix that if your speakerphone is working, your headset is working, but your earpiece is not working, try this. Put your headset on, plug it in, put your headset on, make a call. Make sure you can hear your headsets. Then turn on the speakerphone and see if you can hear the speakerphone. If you can hear the speakerphone, turn the speakerphone on and off several times. Then turn the speakerphone off, pull your headset out, and your earpiece should work. Yeah, right, and I'll stand on one foot and bounce up and down. Turn around 3 times and see if that helps too. Anyway, the bag. 24 hours later, I pulled the bag out, and I cautiously turned it on, and I made a call, and I heard a voice through the headpiece, through the earpiece, and I said, yes. But the headset would not work now. So I remember the little canister of compressed air, and I was blowing out all of that, and don't you know, out of the little plug hole there for the earbud comes a piece of rice. So the public service announcement is, if your cell phone winds up in the sink, in your coffee, in your toilet, or wherever else it happens to be, rice does work. Public service announcement. Okay. Now, the other one to the gospel. You've seen a bumper sticker on the back of the car that says, stay alive, don't. You got it. That's what caused St. Peter to be in a somewhat dangerous position. Not literally, he wasn't texting. But you see what that is there? St. Peter was concentrating on the danger that was at hand, rather than keeping his eyes on Jesus. That was the problem. He was sort of texting while he was driving. Instead of looking at the Lord who just called him, he was looking at the water, rumbling around at his feet. Instead of paying attention to the summons, he had his eyes on the storm. Instead of hearing Jesus say, do not be afraid, do not be afraid, do not be afraid, he was saying, I am afraid, I am really afraid, and splash. That's what had happened. Well, he was concentrating on what was going on around him, rather than on what God was calling him to. He was up to his neck, and he's splashing around. Now, sometimes, are we not in the same boat as St. Peter? Do you know what I mean? If there's some kind of commotion going on in your life, some kind of stirring that's going on in your life, some kind of storm that's rolling through your life, some kind of wind that's not at your back, it's coming at you full face, and we pay attention to the commotion. We spend so much energy and so much time focusing on the storm that's going on in our life. We're not able to spend the amount of attention and energy that we would like to have on the Lord who's pulling us out of the storm, and who's calling us forth from the storm, and who, in fact, is with us in the storm. You notice that when the disciples got into the boat, after Jesus had reached down and pulled Peter out, and then they got in the boat together, we noticed at that time that everything went very calm. The storm just stopped, and the wind died down. And then all of the disciples says, "Oh, the Lord our God." It's easier, isn't it, to have faith in God once the storm is over. It's easier to trust in God once the winds die down than it is really to be trusting Him in the midst of the storm. the kind of faith, maybe, that Jesus was asking of St. Peter. That he would trust that Jesus was present. He would trust that God was present, not just after things had calmed down and were much, much better and things were safe. But maybe Jesus was calling St. Peter to have the kind of faith that he would trust in Jesus even in the midst of the storm. That's where St. Peter got in trouble. Boom. The good news, the very good news, is that when Peter was drowning, because of the situation, and because of his lack of trusting in the Lord at that particular moment he was drowning, the good news is that Jesus saved him. And that's the good news for us too. God saves us. That's what we're called to believe. And that he is saving us. Present tense. That the Lord saves us. And he's in the storm with us. And he's in the boat with us. So stay alive. Don't. Well, you got to think of something else. Text and drive doesn't work anymore, does it? You can see Peter having on the back of his boat now a bumper sticker. On one side it could be this bumper sticker that very simply says God saves. That's nice, isn't it? But on the other side, I have no answer for you. What kind of bumper sticker would he have on the other side where it says, stay alive?
Trust and live.
Yeah. And see, whatever comes to your mind right now might be the message that you're supposed to hear this morning. Stay alive. Don't. Or, stay alive. Do. Is that 11 o'clock already?
Yes.
Holy moly, let's get going here. Okay. We'll just stand and we profess our faith together.